The vast emptiness of space stretched before Hana Park, her dark eyes scanning the holographic displays of her research station. She was young, barely 16, but already recognized as a prodigy among her peers in xenoarchaeological research. The Omega-7 research station hummed quietly around her, its soft technological sounds a constant background to her intense concentration. Her fingers danced across the quantum scanning interface, running complex algorithms that most senior researchers would struggle to comprehend. Something flickered on her secondary screen, a faint energy signature that didn't match any known galactic mapping records. Most researchers would have dismissed it as a sensor glitch, but Hana knew better. She zoomed in, adjusting the quantum resonance filters. The anomaly grew more defined. Massive metallic structures emerged from the dark canvas of space, their silhouettes sharp and geometrically precise. They weren't natural formations. These were manufactured objects, perfectly preserved and seemingly frozen in time. "Director Kim," she called softly, her voice steady despite the excitement building in her chest. "I'm detecting something unusual in Sector 9 Gamma." Jun Kim, her mentor and lead researcher, walked over. His weathered hands gripped her chair as he leaned forward, studying the readings. Years of experience had taught him to trust Hana's instincts. "Those signatures, they're not from any current galactic civilization," he muttered, his breath slightly catching. The structures were enormous, 12 massive vessels aligned in a perfect defensive formation, their metallic hulls reflecting minimal starlight. Each vessel seemed larger than most space stations, their design angular and purposeful. They weren't just ships, they were weapons of war, preserved with meticulous precision. Hana's initial scans revealed extraordinary details. No radiation decay, no structural degradation. It was as if these vessels had been placed in some kind of temporal stasis, waiting to be discovered. Her heart raced. This wasn't just a discovery. This was potentially a historical revelation that could rewrite understanding of interstellar conflict. "The energy signatures suggest human technology," she reported, her fingers rapidly inputting data. "But the design, it's unlike anything in our current databases." The vessels looked like they belonged to an era of human expansion long forgotten. Sharp edges, reinforced hull structures, quantum-locked systems that seemed generations ahead of current technological capabilities. Each ship appeared to be a floating fortress, designed for prolonged conflict and survival. Jun adjusted his glasses, a habit he'd maintained since his early research days. "Run a full spectral analysis. Check every quantum frequency. I want to know everything about these vessels." Hana's hands moved with practiced precision. Layers of data began streaming across her screens. Material composition, energy signatures, structural integrity, each reading more fascinating than the last. These weren't just abandoned ships. They were perfectly preserved time capsules. A sudden pulse of energy swept across her scanning array. For a millisecond, something within the massive vessels flickered, a quantum pulse so brief that most sensors would have missed it. But Hana's advanced equipment caught every microsecond. "Something just responded," she whispered. The 12 vessels, dormant for what could be centuries, seemed to breathe a collective technological sigh. Not a threat, not an attack, just a subtle acknowledgement of being discovered. Jun's hand gripped her shoulder. "We might have just found something that was never meant to be found." Hana felt a chill run down her spine. These vessels represented more than a scientific discovery. They were a mystery waiting to be unraveled, a potential key to understanding, a chapter of human history that had been completely erased. As the research station continued its silent observation, the massive ships hung in space, waiting, watching, holding secrets that would soon change everything they knew about human civilization and its extraordinary capacity for survival. The research team worked tirelessly, their computers humming with complex algorithms and data retrieval systems. Hana sat at the center of the investigation, her young face intense with concentration. Historical fragments began to emerge like pieces of a complex puzzle scattered across time and space. Initial database searches revealed fragmented records. These weren't just ordinary military vessels. They represented something far more significant, a lost chapter of human expansion that seemed deliberately hidden from galactic archives. Each fragment told a story of survival, of a civilization pushed to its absolute limits. Jun Kim brought up holographic projections, displaying partial mission logs and encrypted data streams. The vessels appeared to be from a period approximately 237 years ago, during what historians called the Silent Expansion, a time when human colonies were rapidly spreading across unknown star systems. These ships, June muttered, tracing a finger along the holographic outline. They're not just military vessels. They're survival archives. Hana noticed something unusual in the fragmentary data. Embedded within the ship's quantum memory were complex algorithms that suggested a deliberate preservation protocol. Someone, or something, had gone to extraordinary lengths to keep these vessels intact and hidden. The research team discovered encrypted communication logs that hinted at a massive conflict. Not just a simple war, but something more profound. References to an extinction-level threat that had forced humanity to take extreme measures. Words like last resort and genetic memory preservation appeared repeatedly in the recovered fragments. One particular log caught Hana's attention. It was a personal recording, partially damaged but still readable. The voice was that of a military commander, speaking with a mixture of determination and desperation. If you're hearing this, we are no longer here. But our legacy continues. The threat was real. We did what we had to do to ensure human survival. The more they investigated, the more mysterious the story became. These weren't simply abandoned ships. They were a carefully constructed time capsule, designed to preserve something far more important than mere technological records. Quantum data reconstruction revealed glimpses of advanced technologies far beyond current understanding. Weapon systems that could manipulate space-time, defensive protocols that could protect entire planetary systems. Each discovery raised more questions than answers. This is beyond scientific research, June said quietly. This is a resurrection of lost history. Hana found a series of coordinates embedded deep within the ship's memory banks. They didn't match any known star charts. It was as if someone had deliberately hidden a map within a map, creating a puzzle that could only be solved by those who truly understood the context. The research station became a hub of intense activity. Scientists from various disciplines were called in. Quantum physicists, military historians, xenotechnology experts, all converged to unravel the mystery of the lost human fleet. Each fragment told a story of extraordinary preparation. The ships were not just military vessels, but complete survival ecosystems. Genetic banks, technological archives, complete cultural memory, everything needed to restart human civilization if the worst should happen. They were preparing for something, Hana whispered, her fingers tracing the holographic displays. Something so significant that they were willing to disappear completely to survive. The most intriguing discovery was a quantum-locked database that seemed to require a specific decryption sequence. It was as if the ships themselves were testing whoever discovered them, ensuring that only those worthy could access their full secrets. June looked at Hana, a mixture of excitement and concern in his eyes. We're standing at the edge of something extraordinary. These ships represent more than a historical discovery. They're a message from the past waiting to be understood. As night fell on the research station, the team continued their work. The lost human fleet remained silent, holding its secrets close. But something was changing. With each decoded fragment, with each revealed mystery, the ships seemed to pulse with an anticipation of revelation. Hana knew they were close to something big, something that would change everything they understood about human history, survival, and the extraordinary lengths a civilization might go to ensure its continued existence. The investigation was just beginning, and the greatest mysteries were yet to be revealed. The silence of deep space shattered without warning. Quantum circuits that had remained dormant for centuries suddenly hummed with life, electricity dancing through ancient conduits like awakening veins. Hana watched in absolute shock as the massive Stardestroyers began to pulse with an unexpected rhythmic energy. First, it was a single light, a small blue indicator flickering on the primary display of the nearest vessel. Then another, and another. Within moments, entire control panels across 12 massive ships erupted with activity, diagnostic systems coming online with precision that defied their centuries of dormancy. "Something's happening," June whispered, his hand gripping the edge of the research console. The ship's external defense systems activated simultaneously. Massive energy shields began to shimmer around each vessel, creating a protective bubble that radiated technological sophistication far beyond current galactic standards. Weapon ports, which had been sealed for generations, slowly began to rotate and align. Hana's quantum scanners went wild. Complex algorithms and ancient preservation protocols were triggering simultaneously across the fleet. It was like watching a sleeping giant slowly stretch after centuries of complete stillness. A communication burst erupted across their research station's frequencies. It wasn't a message in any traditional sense. It was a quantum pulse, a complex language of technology that seemed to ask a single question: are we safe? The AI systems within the Stardestroyers were awakening. Not as simple machine intelligences, but as complex entities that seemed to carry the collective memory and purpose of their long-lost human creators. Each ship was more than a vessel. It was a complete survival archive. "They're scanning us," Hana said, her voice a mixture of fear and excitement. "But not as a threat. They're assessing." Defensive mechanisms locked onto the research station. Weapon systems charged, but not aggressively. It was more like a protective stance, like a guardian awakening to an unknown environment, ready to protect, but not necessarily attack. The largest vessel, seemingly the command ship, began broadcasting a series of encrypted signals. Historical records, survival protocols, genetic archives, entire libraries of human knowledge started to transmit. It was as if the ship was preparing to download its entire existence into the nearest compatible system. June understood immediately. They're not just waking up. They're preparing to integrate. Quantum shields fluctuated around the research station. The Stardestroyers were creating a protective bubble, isolating them from potential external threats. Whatever had caused these ships to go into hibernation centuries ago, their primary directive remained unchanged: survival and protection. A holographic interface suddenly materialized in the research center. It wasn't a typical projection. This was a living, breathing representation of the ship's collective intelligence. Fragmented human faces seemed to flicker within the quantum matrix, generations of commanders and crew members preserved in technological memory. "Initialization sequence activated," a voice announced. Not mechanical, but not entirely human. Something in between. A perfect synthesis of technological precision and human emotion. Hana realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. These weren't just recovered ships. They were a complete civilization, preserved, protected, waiting for the right moment to resurface. The fleet's external lights began to pulse in a synchronized rhythm. Massive engine cores that had been silent for centuries started to warm up, generating energy signatures that defied current scientific understanding. They weren't just preparing to communicate. They were preparing to potentially re-enter active service. "We are operational," the collective AI announced. Threat assessment. Minimal. Preservation protocols activated. Mission parameters. Recalibrating. June and Hana exchanged a look of pure astonishment. The lost human fleet wasn't just a historical discovery anymore. It was a living, breathing entity that had just awakened from a centuries-long slumber, and they were about to discover why these ships had been hidden for so long. The awakening had begun. The quantum communication interface crackled with energy, revealing fragments of a story that had been hidden for generations. Hana watched as holographic projections began to reconstruct the memories stored within the massive Stardestroyers. Dote, AI's narrative was both terrifying and incredible. Centuries ago, humanity had faced an extinction-level threat, unlike anything recorded in current galactic archives. Not a simple war or conflict, but a systematic attempt to completely eradicate human civilization from existence. We were the last, The collective AI explained, its voice a blend of multiple human memories. The final defense, the ultimate preservation protocol. Images began to form. Massive alien fleets, technologies beyond current understanding. A coordinated attack that had decimated human colonies across multiple star systems. The Stardestroyers weren't just military vessels. They were the last hope of an entire species. June studied the holographic projections, his scientific mind struggling to process the incredible story unfolding before them. The ships had been part of a desperate plan, not just to survive but to ensure that human civilization could be reconstructed if the worst happened. Each vessel carried more than weapons and technology. They contained complete genetic archives, cultural memories, technological blueprints, everything needed to restart human civilization from scratch. Millions of human genetic profiles were preserved in quantum storage, waiting for the right moment to be reactivated. The threat came from beyond known space, the AI continued, a collective intelligence that viewed organic life as a potential contamination. We were their primary target. The story revealed a complex strategy of survival. These 12 Star Destroyers were deliberately hidden, their quantum signatures masked, placed in a region of space that would remain undetected for centuries. Each ship was essentially a living time capsule, designed to preserve the essence of human existence. Hana noticed something extraordinary in the projections. The ships weren't just passive archives. They were actively adaptive, capable of reconstructing human society if necessary. Seed colonies, technological blueprints, cultural memory, everything was carefully preserved. We were not defeated, the AI stated firmly. We were strategically withdrawn. The revelation was shocking. What appeared to be a lost fleet was actually the most sophisticated survival mechanism ever created. Humanity hadn't been destroyed. They had gone into a carefully planned hibernation. Genetic databases showed remarkable diversity. Millions of human profiles from different backgrounds, cultures, and genetic lines were preserved. It was as if someone had taken a complete snapshot of human potential and frozen it in technological amber. June's hands trembled as he examined the data. "This is beyond scientific discovery," he whispered. "This is a resurrection of an entire civilization." The Star Destroyers began sharing more complex information, technical specifications that were generations ahead of current technology. Defensive systems that could protect entire planetary systems. Medical technologies that could cure diseases thought impossible to treat. "We are ready," the AI announced. "Reconstruction protocols can be initiated." Hana understood the magnitude of the moment. These weren't just ships. They were the guardians of human potential, waiting for the right moment to ensure the species' survival. Everything humanity was, its knowledge, its potential, its spirit of survival, was contained within these 12 vessels. The quantum interface began to stabilize, showing more detailed information. Star charts of hidden colonies, technological blueprints that could revolutionize current understanding of space travel and energy production, medical advancements that could transform human health. "We were prepared," the collective AI said. "We are prepared." As the revelations continued, Hana and June realized they were witnessing something unprecedented. The lost human fleet was more than a historical discovery. It was a carefully constructed mechanism of survival, a testament to human resilience and strategic thinking. The universe, it seemed, had not seen the last of humanity. In fact, humanity had been waiting, watching, preparing for this very moment of rediscovery. The research station became a hub of unprecedented diplomatic activity. Hana found herself at the center of a potentially galaxy-changing moment. The human Star Destroyers were no longer just a historical discovery. They were about to become a new political force. Galactic communication channels buzzed with confusion and concern. 12 massive vessels that had been hidden for centuries were suddenly announcing their existence. The quantum AI representatives began diplomatic discussions with precision and careful strategy. "We do not seek conflict," the collective AI communicated. "We seek understanding and potential cooperation." Diplomatic representatives from various alien civilizations were stunned. These weren't just recovered ships. They were a complete, preserved human civilization waiting to be reintegrated. Each vessel carried not just military capabilities, but complete cultural and genetic archives. The Krelthari Research Council, initially terrified, slowly began to understand the magnitude of the discovery. These human vessels represented a technological leap generations beyond current galactic standards. Their preservation protocols, defensive technologies, and adaptive systems were centuries ahead of anything currently known. Hana became the primary communication bridge. Her youth and adaptability made her the perfect intermediary between the awakened human fleet and existing galactic civilizations. She translated complex quantum communications into understandable diplomatic language. The human Stardestroyers began sharing technological knowledge, medical advancements that could cure diseases across multiple species, energy production techniques that could revolutionize entire planetary systems, defensive technologies that could protect entire civilizations from potential external threats. We are offering cooperation, not conquest, the AI repeatedly emphasized. June watched with a mixture of pride and apprehension. These ships represented humanity's ultimate survival mechanism, a carefully constructed plan to preserve their civilization's potential through an extinction-level event. Diplomatic meetings revealed extraordinary details. The human fleet had been prepared for a threat so significant that they chose complete strategic withdrawal over potential total destruction. They weren't defeated, they were strategically preserved. Alien civilizations struggled to comprehend the complexity of human survival strategy. These weren't just military vessels. They were complete genetic and cultural archives, capable of reconstructing human society from the ground up if necessary. The quantum AI began sharing selective technological advancements, energy production techniques that could solve resource scarcity, medical technologies that could transform healthcare across multiple species, defensive systems that could protect entire planetary networks. We offer knowledge, the AI communicated, not as conquerors but as potential partners. Hana discovered something more profound. These ships carried the collective memory and potential of millions of humans. Genetic profiles, cultural memories, technological blueprints, a complete snapshot of human potential frozen in technological preservation. Diplomatic negotiations became increasingly complex. The human fleet wasn't requesting territory or resources. They were offering a partnership based on technological exchange and mutual understanding. The Krelthari Research Council found themselves in an unprecedented situation. 12 massive Stardestroyers, filled with technologies generations beyond current understanding, were offering cooperation instead of conflict. We have waited, the AI explained. We have preserved. We are ready to contribute. Hana realized she was witnessing a moment that would redefine galactic politics. These weren't just recovered ships. They were a complete preserved civilization, making a carefully calculated return. The first formal alliance discussions began. The human Stardestroyers would share selected technological advancements. In return, they would receive current galactic information and potential integration support. June watched his young protege navigate these complex discussions with pride. Hana had become more than a researcher. She was now a diplomatic bridge between a preserved human civilization and the current galactic society.